Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michele Paich, and I want to welcome all of you to the Sunday morning Zoom service of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Erie. Our October theme is honesty and integrity, and our service today is Thinking with the Good Mind, teachings from the Iroquois League. Our guest speaker today is Perry Ground. Perry Ground is a Turtle Clan member of the Onondaga Nation of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. He has been telling stories for over 20 years and as a means of educating people about the culture, beliefs, and history of the Haudenosaunee. Perry learned most of the stories he shares from the elders of various Native American communities and feels that practicing and perpetuating the oral traditions of the Native people is an important responsibility. Professionally, Perry has worked in several museums, including the Children's Museum of Houston, St. Marie among the Iroquois, and Onondaga State Historic Site. He has shared his stories in countless museums, libraries, classrooms, and festivals throughout the Northeast and has guest lectured at numerous colleges. Perry is the former project director of the Native American Resource Center with the Rochester City School District. A few reminders before we get started. If you want to join us in the ringing of the bells, be sure to have your bell close by and also a chalice or a candle. Also some chat box etiquette. You're encouraged to use the chat box before the service starts, during joys and concerns, and during announcements. Please refrain at other times unless you're in a private chat. Though I did speak with Perry earlier and he said while he is speaking, if there are any questions that you may think of and you just want to put them in the chat box to discuss later on. While we're at the in the breakout rooms. So please stay muted during the service unless you are participating, in which case you must unmute yourself when it is time. So with that, if you would like to participate, please unmute yourself and let's start the service with the ringing of the bells. And our welcoming song this morning is going to be performed by Brian Head. So Brian, if you'll please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Looks like I'm unmuted. Okay. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Thank you, Brian. And our opening words this morning will be a Thanksgiving address given by Perry Ground. Perry?
There we are. All right. Good morning, everybody. And thank you so much for having me here as part of your service this morning. I don't know. I'm going to I got to talk to Dixie for just 1 second. Dixie, I don't know if you can make my screen a full screen so that I don't see the order of service there. I think I see some opening words on my screen. I don't know if we can, so I can see everybody. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Fantastic. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. And thank you again so much for having me here as part of your service. Again, my name is Perry Ground. I am a Turtle Clan member of the Onondaga Nation. And the Onondagas are part of a larger confederacy here in New York, where I am. I'm coming to you from near Rochester, New York right now. But all across New York State, the upper part of New York is where the Haudenosuanee, as we call ourselves in our own language, have lived for thousands of years. Many people call us Iroquois or Iroquois, which is why we use that word in the title of today's presentation. But in our own language, we call ourselves Haudenosaunee, which means the people building the long house. And we'll learn a little bit more about that throughout the day today. As Michele said, if you have a question that pops into your head, I'm perfectly fine if you want to jot it into the chat box, and we'll have the opportunity to have some conversation later on and get those questions answered during the sermon, and then later in breakout rooms towards the end of the service. So I'm glad that you could all be with us, but let's start with some opening words, which where I come from, we always start with what we call the Thanksgiving address. And the Thanksgiving address was given to us about 1,000 years ago by a man that we call the Peacemaker. And when he gave us his address, it was to give thanks for everything in the world around us. And it also helps us to, what we say is bring our minds together as one, so that we can all focus on what we are talking about today with one mind and hopefully with the good mind. So this is the Thanksgiving address. Well, we'll bring our minds together as one, and we'll give our thanksgivings and clear our minds and our hearts of all negative thoughts and all thoughts that are not focused on what we need to do today. And we'll give our thanksgivings for all the people that have assembled with us here today, so that we can bring our minds together as one and talk about these very, very important things. We'll also recognize the people that wanted to join us today or to be with us today that for whatever reason could not be here, and we'll ask the Creator to watch over them just as He watches over all of us that are joined together. And we bring our minds together as one and give our thanksgivings that we are able to spend this time together. Now we'll turn our thoughts to our mother, the earth. The great turtle island that we walk across her back, and we'll give our thanksgivings for all the things that she blesses us with, all of the things that sustain us, and how she supports us so that we might stay alive and take care of each other and all of the things in the world around us. And we'll give our thanksgivings and bring our minds together as one, knowing that we need to support each other as well as support everything in the world around us today. Next, we'll move on to all the things that grow along the back of our mother, the grasses and the small, low plants that stay close to our mother, the earth, and that populate the earth with all the beautiful greenery that we can see all around us, and all of the things that that soil provides to us as well. And we give our thanksgiving for all the things that start to grow on the back of our mother, the earth. Now we'll bring our minds together as one, and we'll give our thanksgivings for all of the small creatures that walk along the back of our mother, the earth. We'll give our thanks for the bugs that crawl along her back, or the small four-leggeds like the chipmunk or the squirrel that run around all around now, busy in their preparations for winter. And we'll give our thanksgivings for all the things that stay close to our mother, the earth. As we move up towards the sky, we'll turn our minds now to larger plants, such as flowers or medicine plants that might give us things to heal our bodies or to heal our spirits when we need that very special medicine. So we'll bring our minds together as one, and we'll give our thanksgivings for the berries that grow on the back of our mother, the strawberry and the blackberry and the raspberry and all the other wonderful treats that she provides for us. We'll give our thanksgivings for all the larger animals that walk along her back, the four-leggeds that grow bigger and bigger, to the rabbit, to the beaver, to the deer, to the elk, to the moose, to the bear. All those animals that reside on her back and use all the things that she provides to us that we might stay alive. And now our minds are one. Now we'll give our thanksgivings for the people, the Unguhunwe, the human beings that also walk along the back of our mother, not just the people assembled here, but all the people of the earth. And we hope that everyone will bring their minds together as one and care for all the things that we can see in the world around us, things that we know sustain us and support us. And we'll give our thanksgivings for all those things in the world around us, and we'll bring our minds together as one in a thankful way. As we continue on upward, we'll give thanks to the trees, the great trees that support us, that provide us wood for our shelters, that provide us shade in the summertime, and especially to the maple tree. Even though he prepares to lay down for his winter slumber, we know that come springtime, the maple, the chief of all the trees, will provide us with that sweet sap so that we can have that wonderful maple syrup. And we'll give our thanksgivings to the trees as they prepare for winter. Their leaves are changing color and falling to the ground as they continue on their cycle of yearly renewal. And we give our thanksgiving to those trees and all the things that they provide to us, whether it be nuts or fruits or other things that we might need to stay alive. And now we will bring our minds together as one. Continuing on into the air, we'll give our thanksgivings to the birds, the two-leggeds and the winged creatures that are all around us. Some provide us with beautiful music. Some provide us with food. Some provide us with other things that we might need. Their feathers that we might use in our traditional clothing. All the wonderful things that the birds provide for us. Many of them also preparing to migrate at this time of year. So we'll give our thanksgivings to those birds and wish them well on their journey and know that it is part of the continuing cycle that the earth continues to go through every year. And we are thankful that it continues to do so. And now we will bring our minds together as one. Continuing on up into the sky, we'll give our thanksgivings to our elder brother, the sun, who shines his light and warmth down onto the Turtle Island. I see him now looking down on us, bringing all that light and warmth to us. And we could not survive without our elder brother, the sun. So we give our thanksgivings to him for doing his job each day. And now we bring our minds together as one. At nighttime, we know that in the sky, we have to give thanks to our grandmother, the moon, who shines her face down on us in the evening. And she has very important responsibilities. So we give our thanksgivings to the moon, who continues to sustain us, who controls the tides, the waters that flow along the back of our mother. Also controls the cycle that women have, that they might bring forth life into this world. And so she plays a very important role here on the Turtle Island. We give our thanksgivings to our grandmother, the moon, for all that she does to help control life here on the Turtle Island. We give our thanksgivings to the stars, to our grandfathers, the thunderers who bring the rain to us as well. But we'll also give our thanksgivings as we continue on up to the four spirit helpers. In our traditional way of living and thinking, we talk about four spirit helpers who came to us years ago and provided a message, Gaiwio, the good word or the good message that reminded Unguhunwe, Haudenosaunee people, how we should conduct our lives and how we should think with the good mind. We say that those spirit helpers keep their hands on our shoulders, that they might guide us along the proper path and how to think with the good mind. So we give our thanksgivings to those thunder beings and the spirit helpers that will guide us and lead us through our lives, all thinking with the good mind. And now we will bring our minds together as one. And now we'll continue on to the spirit world, and we'll give our thanksgivings, our best thoughts, our purest hearts, sending up our love, piling it on top of one another with peace and thanksgiving all the way to the spirit world, and give our thanks to Sakmiundizo, which is our word for God or the creator of all things. And we give our thanksgivings to Sakmiundizo and ask him to watch over us and remind us how to think each day with the good mind, so that we can be thankful for all these things that we have in the world around us. And now our minds come together as one. And today we had to go quickly as part of the service. Sometimes when we give this prayer, we give thanksgivings for many, many other things, the fish and the water and all the other things on the world around us. And so if I have left something out, it's because I am an imperfect person, and I apologize, but I give my thanksgivings for all the things in the world around us. Each person can give their own thanksgivings for the things that we have in this world around us. As we bring our minds together as one, to have this very important meeting today and learn all of these important things. So we bring our minds together as one, peace in our hearts, and we will think today with the good mind. And now I will say Daneho. And Daneho in my language means I am done, or those are my words. And we bring our minds together as one in peace. Daneho. That address is done.
Thank you, Perry, for the wonderful opening words, the Thanksgiving address. And with that, we will go to our prelude with Jackson.
Jackson apparently has not been able to recover his internet service.
Okay. So we are.
But I'm here.
Okay. Thank you, Jackson.
Okay.
Thank you for the beautiful music. And with that, if you can all grab your chalice or your candles, we are going to do our chalice lighting.
For the wonder and inspiration we seek from the sun and stars and all the lights of the heavens, we light this chalice.
And now for our bonds of union.
We're going to start with the children's bond. I'm going to lead it. We are Unitarian, Universalist, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands.
And now for our 1898 bond. If you would like to say it with me, but please keep yourself muted, but say it with me. We unite ourselves together for the study and practice of morality and religion, as interpreted by the growing thought and noblest lives of humanity, believing that we may thereby prove helpful one to another and promote the cause of truth, righteousness, and love in the world. And now Perry will share with us a story for all ages, the creation story.
Okay, there we go. All right. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Michelle. And again, good morning to everyone. I think a couple people have jumped on late with us. I'm just trying to change my view here so that I can see myself. It's always better when I see myself. Oh, I'm looking at Michelle, though. I don't know if I can make myself bigger. All right, we'll go back to the gallery view. Sorry, it's always the technology that kind of messes us up. But again, my name is Perry Ground, if you're just joining us late, and I'm so happy to be with you today. I love to teach about the Haudenosaunee, or as we use the name in the program, the Iroquois, that many other people call us. But like I said, in our own languages, we call ourselves Haudenosaunee, the people building the long house. And we joined ourselves together in a union of originally 5 nations, although today we have 6 because another tribe came and joined us. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more during the sermon today, and about this man, the Peacemaker, that came and joined those 5 nations together. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. But right now I wanted to share a story with you that is very, very important to the Haudenosaunee. We have 3 stories that are really the foundation of who we are as Haudenosaunee people. One of them is that story of Gaiweo that I mentioned in the Thanksgiving address, about a man called Handsome Lake. He actually used to live not too far away from where many of you are today. He was from the Allegheny, or what we call Ohio Reservation, which is over by Salamanca, New York, near Jamestown. But he also did live for a while down in Pennsylvania on the Corn Planter Reserve, which is very much close to where Erie is today. And so this man, Handsome Lake, the story of him is about those messengers that came to him and brought him this Gaiweo, this good word or good message, which informs our religious practices right to this day. Another foundation story that we have is the Peacemaker story, about how we joined together. We're going to hear about that a little bit later during the sermon in just a few minutes. So those 2 are foundation stories that tell us how we should live, how we should act, how we should interact with each other. So they are very important to us. But the other foundation story we have is the creation story, the story of how the whole world got to be here. Now, this story is actually very long. If I told the whole thing, it would take about 3 days for me to tell the whole story. We would have started a few hours ago, closer to sun up, and we'd be telling for another few hours until about noon or 1 o'clock, and then we'd stop for the day and have something to eat. So it's a very, very long story, but very important to us. We'll hear a small piece of it today that is very, very important to us. This is the Haudenosaunee story of creation. Well, we say this story happened a long, long time ago. And back at this time, all of the things that we can see in the world around us, all of the trees, all of the grass, all of the rocks, the animals, the people, well, none of these things were here. All that was here was water. Water as far as the eye could see, in all directions, covered the entire world. It was just water. But in the water, there were some animals that lived, like fish and beaver and otter and other animals that usually live in the water. And up above these animals, there was a blue dome that covered the entire sky. And these animals down in the water back at that time, they did not know it. But up above that blue dome, there's another world, the sky world, or the spirit world, kind of the Haudenosaunee people's idea of heaven. And these animals in the water, they didn't know it back then, but up in that world, there are people that live that look very much like we do. We call them sky people. And the sky people back then lived very much like the Haudenosaunee did a long time ago. They lived in very long houses made out of bark. They hunted for animals like deer or moose for their meat. They grew crops like corn and beans and squash. But also up in that world, there was one tree that grew that was very, very important. It was called the tree of life. And that tree of life was so important because out of it grew big white flowers. And out of the flowers came light. So it was a very important tree. There was one man whose job it was to take care of that tree. His name was Holder of Heavens. And Holder of Heavens did his job very well. He made sure that the weeds didn't grow up around the base of the tree. He made sure that not too many birds made their nests in the branches. He made sure that the people didn't pick the fruit at the wrong time of year. And he did his job very well, taking care of that tree. One day, Holder of Heavens came home to his long house, and his wife was waiting inside. Her name was Yojijitsen, which in English means mature flower. Well, Yojijitsen was waiting inside, and when her husband came in, she said, "Husband, husband, listen to me. I have wonderful news. Soon, I'm going to have a baby. We're going to have our first child." Oh, Holder of Heavens, he was so overjoyed to hear this news that he and his wife were going to start their family and make their longhouse even bigger. Well, as some time went on, Yojijitsen, mature flower, her stomach, it started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, like what happens to a woman when they're going to have a baby. But something else happened to her as well, and this sometimes still happens to women right to this day. She started to want to eat strange foods, and she wanted to put strange combinations of foods together. Each night she would lay down and go to sleep and have a dream about something good to eat. In the morning she would wake up and tell her husband, Holder of Heavens. And because he loved his wife so much, each day he would go out into the forest and gather whatever food she wanted and bring it home to present to her. Well, one morning, Yojijitsen woke up from her sleep and she said, "Husband, husband, listen to me, listen to me. I have had another dream, something good to eat. I dreamed that the roots from the tree of life, that they would make a good meal, good medicine. Will you pull the tree out of the ground so I can eat those roots?" But when mature flower asked this, Holder of Heavens, he said, "No, no, my job is to take care of that tree. If I pull it out of the ground, the tree will die. So that I cannot do." But Yojiji said, she begged day after day after day, "Please, husband, please, please pull that tree out of the ground. I have to eat those roots." And she stopped eating anything else. Yojiji started to become very sick. Oh, Holder of Heavens, he was so concerned about his wife, but he knew his job was to care for the tree. But after many days of her begging and getting sicker and sicker, he finally agreed to do it. So the two of them went out to the great tree of life. Holder of Heavens wrapped his arms around it, and with all of his strength, he pulled it up out of the ground. The tree toppled over, and the roots came up out of the ground, leaving a big hole. Yojiji said she rushed forward to grab a hold of the roots so that she could have that good medicine. But when she got up close to the tree, she saw that big hole in the ground. And she saw that that hole was so big, it went all the way through to the world of water down below. Well, the sky people at that time, they didn't know about the world of water that was down below them. Mature flower forgot all about eating those roots. She wanted to see what was down in that hole. So she got up close to it to have a look. And she could see some clouds drifting through the air. She wanted to see more, so she got a little closer. She could see some birds flying. She could see some of the water. She wanted to see even more. So she got even closer, right up to the edge, and she poked her head right down into that hole to see what was down below. But as she was looking down, suddenly the ground on the edge started to crumble, and her foot slipped, and she fell. She fell into the hole. She reached out and tried to grab onto the sides to stop herself from falling. But all that she came up with was 2 handfuls of dirt. She slid down into the hole and started to tumble down towards the water down below. But as she was falling down through the sky, some of the birds happened to look up, and they said, "Look, look, something is falling through the sky, coming from a hole in the sky dome." Well, as Yojitsi-san came down farther, the birds realized that it was a sky person. And they said, that woman, she can't fall down this far and survive. Maybe we should fly up and catch her in our wings, and then we could bring her down safely. So the ducks and the geese, they lifted off up into the sky, they spread out their wings, and they made a nice bed for her. She landed right on their backs. And then they turned and started to glide back down towards the water to bring her down slowly and safely. But as they were coming down, one of the ducks got a very smart idea in his mind. So he broke away and flew ahead of all of the rest. He came down to the surface of the water, and there he found a great snapping turtle. And he said, great turtle, listen to me. We are bringing this sky woman who has fallen from a hole in the sky dome down into our world. But she is very heavy on her back. I don't think she can float on the water like we do. But it does not look like she can swim like you or the fish. She needs a place to live in our world. May we put her onto your back so she stays up out of the water. The snapping turtle, he said, this would be a very good thing. You may put the sky woman onto my back. And that's what we usually call this woman right to this day. We call her Sky Woman, what those 2 animals named her. But the turtle said something else because he is very wise. He said, my back, my shell, it is very hard. It is very bumpy. I do not think the Sky Woman would be very comfortable there. But at the bottom of this ocean, there is dirt and mud. If someone could go down and bring some of it up, they could put it onto my back. Then the Sky Woman would have a good place to live. Oh, the animals, they all thought that this was a very good idea. So they tried to dive down to the bottom of that water. The beaver tried to go down, but it was too deep. The otter tried to go down, too deep. The loon tried to dive down, again, too deep. No one could reach the bottom. Until along came a little small animal, maybe only this big. Long, skinny tail, little round black eyes. Some people don't like this animal today, but very important to Haudenosaunee. His name is Muskrat. Muskrat took in a big gulp of air. He kicked his arms and legs as hard as he could, and he swam to the bottom of the ocean. He grabbed up a paw full of dirt, and he brought it back up to the surface of the water. When he reached the surface, the other animals opened his paw and came and took the dirt from his hand. And then they smoothed it out on the turtle's back. The birds came down and they put the Sky Woman onto that new patch of land. And when she came down onto that patch of land, the Sky Woman started to do a dance. And she was dancing around that new patch of land, pushing one foot in front of the other. And that piece of land started to grow. And it grew and it grew and it grew into the place where she lived, into the place where we all live right to this day, on what most people call Earth or North America. but what the Haudenosaunee people call Great Turtle Island. And when the Sky Woman opened up her hands, dancing around the Turtle Island, all of the dirt and seeds that were inside of there came out and spread all across the new place that she lived. That's where we get all the grasses that we see growing in the world around us that we give our thanks for. But there was another seed in her hand at the time. It was the seed to the strawberry plant. And when the Haudenosaunee see that plant starting to grow at the beginning of summer, we give our thanksgivings to the strawberry as something wonderful to eat. But we also remember that it was a gift from the sky world when the whole Turtle Island was brand new. And now I'll say to you again, Daneho, which again in my language means I am done, or those are my words. So we'll say Daneho. That story is done. All right, Michele. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Perry, for sharing that creation story with us. So before we get into our sermon with Perry, we're going to take a moment, give him a moment, and we are going to take a moment, and Jackson is going to play some music for us. And I just want you all to consider an offering to sustain this place, even though that we are not together in the sanctuary. We are together here on Zoom, and it is all of offering. So Jackson is going to play some music for all of us to contemplate our offering to the church. Thank you. Thank you, Jackson, for the beautiful music. And thank you to all of you who give your offering to the church. And we're going to give it back to Perry, and he's going to share the sermon with us the Peacemaker Story.
All right. Thank you so much, Michele. Again. All right. Thank you so much, Michele. Oh, there we go. Got the echo gone. Okay, fantastic. So, and when Michele says you're going to give it back to me, not the offering, you're going to give the microphone back to me. So I didn't want people to think that they were making an offering for me being here today. And I think Michele, from her reaction just there, realized same thing. Yeah. So I'm so glad to be here with you today and to talk to you about all of these important things. And again, I'll remind you, if you had a question, anything that I said about the Thanksgiving or about that creation story, feel free to type it into the chat box. Or if you have a question now about what I'm talking about with the Peacemaker, go ahead and type it into the chat box. It's a way to remember it. And then we have somebody set aside that can jump in if it's a question we should get answered right away. Otherwise, we can definitely address it as we go later. So one of the things about the Haudenosaunee that is very, very important to us, you can kind of see it behind me. Here I have a little backdrop. It's actually a big quilt. But right up here at the top, you can see this symbol that is very, very important to us as Haudenosaunee people. And this may be something that you've seen before. Lots of people are familiar with this symbol because it is something that is so very important to the Haudenosaunee. But a lot of people don't know where it comes from. And it comes from literally right here that I have in my hands. What I have in my hands right here is what we call a wampum belt. If I get real close, you can see this belt is made of a few thousand little beads. And traditionally, these beads were made from clam shells, a very specific clam shell, the quahog clam, and then woven together in these belts that had some kind of picture or pictograph woven into them, or sometimes maybe a kind of pattern. I have another one right over here that just has a pattern. We call this one the two-row wampum, and you can see the purple lines along with the white beads. That's a little different kind of bead. That's why the color is a little bit different. But here you can see this one is the one we call the Hiawatha Belt. Hiawatha is probably a name that you've heard before, but a lot of people know that name, of course, from the Longfellow poem, which is actually a completely different story. That Longfellow poem, the Song of Hiawatha, literally has nothing to do with the original Hiawatha. It's actually an Ojibwe story. He just, the name fit the meter of the poem that he was writing. So rather than using the hero from the Ojibwe story, he borrowed a hero from this story about the Peacemaker, the man that came and joined us together. So when we are talking about Haudenosaunee, or again, if you're familiar with the word Iroquois, that's the name that was given to us by the French explorers about 400 years ago, but we have always called ourselves Haudenosaunee. This name, Haudenosaunee, was given to us by the Peacemaker when he came to us and joined us together. So when we're talking about them, we're not talking about one tribe of people. Like I said earlier, we're talking about 5 tribes of people that were joined together to live in peace. One of the most important things about this symbol that come from that wampum belt that I just showed you, that this is a symbol of peace, because peace is the most important concept that we live with among the Haudenosaunee. We were joined together to live in peace with these 5 different tribes. Now, the 5 tribes that joined together, you've probably heard the names of them before. Some people don't realize that they're all joined together. It includes the Mohawks. They were the first tribe to join in. Then also it includes the Oneidas, the Onondagas, where I come from. Again, that's the type of Native American person that I am. It includes also the Cayugas and the Senecas, which is where my dad is from. My dad is a Seneca person, and the Senecas were the people that originally lived closest to where many of you are in Erie, even though originally they lived along the Genesee River and the Genesee River Valley, like where Letchworth State Park is in New York, all the way up to Rochester, into the Finger Lakes region. But into the 16 and 1700s, the Senecas moved all over the place into areas like Western New York and Western Pennsylvania, including where Erie is today. After pushing the people that we usually call the Eries, or the Cat people, off of their traditional territory over conflict over beaver pelts. That's a whole other lecture, and we can talk about that history another day maybe. But today we wanted to talk more about the idea of peace and thinking with the good mind. So in the creation story that I was telling a little bit earlier, one of the things that happens in that story, remember I said it's a very long story. We heard kind of the highlight reel, the woman coming down, the big turtle, the land from the muskrat. Woo, great. So like that's kind of the part that's often told. But what sometimes isn't told is that the rest of it, that woman was here. And remember, she was about to have a baby. And it's important among the Haudenosaunee that she gave birth to a baby girl. So for us, the first person, actually the first two people on Earth, or Turtle Island, we say were two women. And that's very, very important to us. And it informs us about how we view women in our communities. And so then that young girl, she grew up, and she was courted by another spirit being, the West Wind, a male spirit, and she became pregnant and gave birth to two boys, twins. One who we call the good mind, who created lots of the things that we have in the world around us, including human beings. And when he created us, he taught us all kinds of things, how to care for one another, how to care for the world around us, how to hunt, how to farm, how to fish, how to build houses, how to make medicines, all these kinds of things that would be important for our survival. But he also taught us how to be respectful, how to interact with each other in a respectful way. How to have relationships that would support and enhance the way that people were living. And also then to take care of, be a steward of the world around us, to not take too much out of the environment, to not pick plants at the wrong time, to not hunt animals, say during a breeding season, things like that, so that we can take care of the world around us and the world can continue to renew itself. So whenever we talk about what that good twin, sometimes called the right-handed twin, his actual name means new tree or sapling in our language, that's the literal translation. But we say that he taught us to think with the good mind. And so when we think with the good mind, we're thinking about all those things that he taught us. But there was also the evil-minded twin, sometimes called the left hand or flint, because he had very hard or icy, like rock-like skin, so he's sometimes called flint as well. When he found the people that his brother had created, he taught us all kinds of bad things. He created bad things in the world around us. He taught us how to be jealous. He taught us how to argue. He taught us how to waste. He taught us how to fight. All kinds of things that we learned from the evil-minded one. And as the story goes on, and when we tell the full thing, like I said, it takes 3 days to tell the whole thing. We talk about how they ended up having contests, kind of a battle against each other to see who would have rule over the Turtle Island. And in the most traditional versions of the story that we tell, we say that they couldn't defeat one another, that they both decided to leave the Turtle Island and they went back up to the sky world. That they left it here for the human beings, for the people, but that we have both of these things inside of us, the things that we learn from the good mind and how we can think that way, or all those things from the evil-minded one, and all those things that he taught us, and that we need to choose which one it is that we're going to follow and that we're going to use. So when we talk about the peacemaker, and we talk about this idea of the 5 original tribes joining together. Later, another tribe came and joined us, the Tuscaroras. They live up near Niagara Falls now, so if you've heard that name. But when the original 5 tribes were joined, they had forgotten how to think with the good mind. They had fallen into warfare, constant fighting. People were afraid, we say, to go out of their long houses to hunt, or to farm, or to do the things that the good mind had taught us to do. They had forgotten how to take care of one another. And so when the peacemaker came to us, and we say this happened about 1,000 years ago, he came across Lake Ontario in a white stone canoe, kind of as a way to show the power or magic that he had with this powerful message he was bringing to us. And he traveled among the 5 nations, spreading this message of peace. Along the way, he met some helpers. One was a woman who we call UUCE, and UUCE was the very first person to listen to the peacemaker. So again, we have a woman who is first in our foundational stories. And so again, she saves a very, very special place for women within our communities because she was the first one to listen. In fact, we usually say she was the very first clan mother. Earlier, I said I come from the Turtle Clan. This is a symbol for my family. And that's we have 9 of these families. Each person comes from one that has an animal symbol. Turtle is the one I come from. There's also bear, wolf, beaver, deer, hawk, blue heron, snipe, and eel. But you come from one of these families, and it's important to know what family you come from. I work with school kids a lot, so I usually tell them certain clans have certain jobs at certain times. So you have to know what clan you're from to know what job you're supposed to do and when you're supposed to do it. So that's very important to us, that this idea of clan that comes from those stories is still something that is part of our almost daily lives. And so thinking with the good mind, knowing what clan you're from, that is part of it. So when the peacemaker comes and brings us this message of peace, he gets the 5 tribes to unite together. And the way that he does this is a very special description that he uses. When he is standing before everyone trying to convince them of this message, he would hold up an arrow, just one, and he would hold it up for everyone to see, and he would tell everyone, if you stand alone as one person or even one tribe of people, just like the one arrow, well, then you are not very strong. You can easily be defeated, easily be broken. And then he would snap that arrow right in half to prove his point. But then he would take out 5 arrows and he would bundle them all together. He would hold up the bundle of 5 arrows for everyone to see, just like the bundle that I have here. These are traditionally made arrows. I know that because I made them myself. Turkey feathers, some ironwood that I collected with a friend of mine, chipped out some flint points for them, held together with sinew, the tendon from animals, the same way that people made arrows a long time ago. So the peacemaker would hold up the bundle of 5 arrows for everyone to see, and he would tell everyone, if you can join yourselves together in a union, a confederacy of 5 tribes, bundle yourselves in peace, like the bundle of 5 arrows, with no more fighting. Follow the rules that I am giving to you to live in peace. Well, then you will be very strong. You will be so strong that your union will last forever. And then he would show that he could not break those arrows joined together. They were stronger bound in peace. He convinced everyone to stop fighting and to join in and to join together. And when he joined us together, one of the other symbols he gave to us was that he planted a tree. You can kind of see it behind me here, which is what we call the tree of peace. It was also in that wampum belt symbol. You can see there that tree that we call the tree of peace. And in this picture behind me here, it's on the back of the turtle. Like the Mother Earth, okay? And then we see the clan animals all around it. There you go. All right, I'll step back into the picture. Okay, so he plants this tree, and he says that our council will sit under the tree. He plants it at Onondaga, where I'm from. He stretches out 4 roots in the 4 directions of the earth. And he says, if any person or nation of people wishes to join this union, to live in peace, they can find one of those roots and follow it back to the great tree. And there they can learn all about living in peace, join in and join together with the Haudenosaunee. And these rules that he gives to us, he gives us a whole lot of them, 114 of them. One of them is that we should say the Thanksgiving address whenever we join together. That's literally one of the rules. So we followed one of those rules this morning. One of the other rules that he gives to us is about women. And he says, because the woman came first, because the woman listened first, that people should always follow the women's side of their family. So I come from the Turtle Clan, and I come from Onondaga because that's where my mother was from. I said earlier that my dad is Seneca, and that's true. My dad is from the Tonawanda Seneca Reservation. But I never say that I'm Seneca. I am Onondaga because we follow our mother's side of the family. Yeah. So there are some things that he gave to us that we might still follow on a daily basis. That's why I say there are foundational stories, the idea of peace being so important to us. But some of these rules, like the Thanksgiving address or following our mom's side of the family, those are things that we might do every single day. And they can be very, very important to us. And so we give our thanksgivings for being able to think with the good mind. We remember back to the story of creation. And we know, as Haudenosaunee people, that we really have a choice. We can listen to what Flint, the evil-minded one, taught us. We can think about jealousy. We can think about bad words. We can think about anger and hatred and all those other negative things that he taught us. We can think about having to fight with other people. And we could choose that if we wanted to. Or we could choose to think with what Nutri, the sapling, taught us, how to think with the good mind, how to care for one another, how to care for the world around us, and how to live in peace. And that message that he sent to us through the Peacemaker and Donyudayo, Handsome Lake, who came to us much later. So that is our challenge that we always say among Haudenosaunee. I guess it's the challenge that I'm giving to you today as well, to make that choice. Will we think with what the evil one taught us, or will we think with the good mind? And that's a choice that we face every single day. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Michele. Daneho, thank you so much, but I'm going to stay with you. So if you have a question, I know we got a couple things in the chat, and then we're going to have breakout rooms as well, but I'll let Michele explain all the process to you. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much, Perry. Thank you for your wonderful stories, very inspirational. As he said, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. After the service, if you want to stay in the main room instead of going to your breakout room, Perry will be there. But right now, we are going to have joys and concerns. If you would like to put a joy or a concern or a question you may have for Perry into the chat box at this time. And Jackson is going to play some music, and that is going to be followed by a moment of silent meditation. And then Diane Guthrie will summarize the joys and concerns for us. Jackson? Diane, can you summarize what was in the chat box for us?
Yes, we had a few repeated themes going on in our chat box regarding our thanks for the wonderful stories from our speaker from Perry today and how interesting people were finding them. Some people had some questions as well that he answered, and I think we'll be talking more about those after when we're meeting in groups. Other people responded to the theme about how much stronger we are together in peace. And a few people mentioned how lovely the day is turning out to be. Once again, another beautiful fall day.
Thank you, Diane.
Actually, and Michelle, if I can say one other thing very quickly about what people are writing in the chat as well, because we've had a few people mention about women, and I saw some on the screen, some people reacting to the fact that women play such a vital role in some of our stories, which is true, that we often celebrate or show the strength of women in our stories because of a whole lot of reasons, but in large part because they were first in many things. So I often say to people when they hear that creation story, I encourage them, imagine if you came from a place that said that women came to the world first and that boys or men came along later and that the boys messed everything up. Because the evil one and the good mind end up having this conflict and they mess a lot of things up in the whole world, which we didn't get to hear in the story today. But imagine if you came from that place that said women came first, that two women came first and that the boys came later, that they messed things up and they made things difficult for the people here. And so if you think that way, which is very different from, say, Western or European thinking, traditional Christian thinking that says men came first and the woman messed everything up. If we hear it reversed, we probably would think about women differently. In fact, something that I do all the time, and when I go into schools, it really throws kids off, is that I usually say women and men. I don't say men and women. I usually say women and men. So I put women first, and the kids will sometimes stop and ask me, they say, why are you saying women first? And I always say, why shouldn't the women come first? They came first in a lot of things that we do. Why should men come first? And so when we think about standards, what we are striving for, attaining for, whatever it might be, why do we put men first? Why do we put certain cultures above other cultures? Why can't we have a standard that is the good mind, and that we are all thinking with that good mind? So I appreciate all of the women and all of the men that were able to join us today.
And I appreciate that way of thinking. Thank you. And our closing words today will be given by Garrett Lindahl. Garrett?
Our closing words are by the Reverend Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concern, our care for each other, our service to each other, to our world, to our faith continues. Until we are gathered again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.
Thank you. And now, if you'll join me in extinguishing your chalices at home and your candles at home.
As we prepare to depart, we give voice to these hopes. We know ourselves bound in community, even while we are apart.
And now Jackson will play our postlude.
Okay, I'm sorry guys. First of all, the last time it was on, I had technical difficulties, and this week, for some reason, I don't know what's happening, but just to let you know, I have another computer open in case it happens again. But before I start, are my vocals too loud compared to the piano? Just test 1, 2. Anybody? It's good? Okay.
Good, good.
Here we go. Words are flowing out like an endless rain into a paper cup. They slither while they pass, they slip away across the universe. Pools of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my open mind, possessing and caressing me. Jai Guru Deva, oh, nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. They call on me all across the universe. Thoughts meander like a restless wind inside a letterbox. They tumble blindly as they make their way across the universe. Jai Guru Deva, oh, nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Jai Guru Deva, oh, nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither while they pass, they slip away across the universe. Pools of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my open mind, possessing and caressing me.
Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, Perry. Thank you, everyone who played a part in this wonderful service. And I want to say that Kelly Armour mentioned, and I would like to say this out loud, she mentioned in the chat box, tomorrow and every day, may we remember, honor, and celebrate Indigenous peoples and their wisdom. Thank you. Please stay for break rooms. And again, if you want to stay in the main room, when the pop-up comes up to go into a breakout room, just click out of that and just come back to the main room, and Perry will be here with us.